I still remember the night she left, though it wasn't like any dramatic breakup you see in movies. There were no raised voices, no suitcase slamming against the doorframe, just a quiet, almost rehearsed goodbye. The silence between us felt heavier than words could ever be. I sat across from her at our tiny kitchen table, the kind with chipped tiles and a flickering light above us that made the room feel smaller, somehow colder. Her untouched spaghetti had long gone cold as she looked at me with a sad, empty smile, one that people wear when their heart is already checked out. "This just isn't enough for me anymore," she said, and for a moment, I thought she meant the relationship. I thought she was talking about us, what we'd built. I asked what I could do better, what we could work on to fix things, but she shook her head and gave me an answer that cut deeper than I could have imagined. It wasn't about love. It was about lifestyle. "You work hard, Matt," she said, twirling her fork absently, her gaze distant. "But you're always stressed, always tired, and we're still barely getting by. I want something more." At first, I wasn't angry. I was just confused. Relationships, I thought, were about building something together, weren't they? We'd survived 2 layoffs, a major surgery, and a pandemic. I thought all that hardship had made us stronger, not driven us apart. But apparently, it had only worn her down. A week later, she was gone. I came home from work to find her side of the closet empty, a note left on the fridge. "I'm sorry. This isn't your fault. I just need a different life." 2 weeks after that, I found out what that different life meant. A man named Cologne, older, wealthy, and the kind of guy who didn't wait in lines or check his bank balance before buying wine. He was everything I wasn't. And it stung, not just because she left me, but because she traded love for luxury like it was some easy upgrade, like I was never enough. The worst part? I couldn't even be mad at Cologne. He hadn't stolen her from me. She left willingly, without a second thought. For a while, bitterness consumed me. Every late rent check, every bounce payment reminded me of what she chose over us. I'd stare at the ceiling at night, asking myself if maybe she had a point. Was love enough? Wasn't it supposed to be? But here's the thing they don't tell you when you're left broken. You don't stay broken forever. Not if you don't let it define you. I threw myself into work. I stopped merely surviving and started focusing on growth. I took a chance on myself. Started my own small design firm. It was brutal at first. Lean months, ramen dinners, sleepless nights. But slowly, things began to turn around. 2 years later, we were finally turning a profit. And one morning, as I walked into our new office downtown, with real glass doors, a proper reception desk, and a coffee machine that didn't sputter, I saw a face I hadn't seen in years. Jenna. She was standing by the front desk, her makeup streaked and her hair pulled back in a way that said she hadn't had time to do anything but run out the door. Our receptionist looked at me awkwardly, unsure of what to say. She says she knows you." I froze. The flood of memories was sudden, overwhelming. But something about this moment felt different. I was standing. She was waiting. The girl who had once left me in pieces was now standing just 10 feet away from the life she'd once deemed not enough. "Matt," she said softly, her voice trembling. Her eyes were red, mascara smudged just enough to suggest either a bad night or too many tears. Maybe both. I cleared my throat and turned to my receptionist. "Can you give us a minute?" Jenna followed me into the conference room, the same one I'd pitched clients in just days earlier, confident and composed. But now, as I watched her sit, she looked smaller, her confidence drained away somewhere along the way. She sat down slowly, her hands trembling as she clutched the strap of her purse like it was a last anchor to her dignity. "I'm sorry to just show up like this," she started, breaking the silence. I didn't know where else to go. I stayed quiet, letting her fill the space. "Cologne," she said, her voice cracking. "He left me." "Well, not exactly. He didn't leave me. He just..." She laughed bitterly, wiping at her eyes. "Turns out I wasn't his partner. I was just part of the decor. The house is his. The car is his. The life was his. And I was just visiting, I guess." It hit me in a strange way. Not satisfaction, not revenge, just a sense of confirmation. The version of love she'd chased wasn't real. I wasn't crazy for being hurt. I thought we were happy, I said slowly, breaking my silence at last. Back then, I really did. I thought so, too, she whispered, looking down at her hands. Until I let myself believe that money would make me feel safe. But I never felt safe with him, Matt. I just felt quiet. Like if I spoke too much or asked for too much, I'd lose everything. And there it was, the truth. I could see it in her eyes, broken, vulnerable, just like I had felt when I read that note on the fridge, the note that started everything. And now, I asked, she looked up at me, the pain clear in her eyes. Now I have nothing, and no one. The unspoken plea hung in the room. She wanted me to comfort her, to fix it, to somehow make everything right again. But I couldn't go back to the man she had walked out on. Not when I'd built something, myself, my life, out of the wreckage she left behind. Jenna, I said, leaning forward slightly, I'm sorry for what you've been through. Truly. But you made a choice, and so did I. I built something out of the mess you left. I became someone through that pain. She swallowed hard. Are you saying there's no chance at all? I paused, my heart heavy with the weight of everything we had been through. I just had to say it. I took a deep breath, my chest tight, but I had to let it go. I'm not angry at you anymore, I said quietly, but I'm not the man you left behind, and you're not the woman I once loved. Her face fell, crushed. She had hoped for a different ending. I could see that. But I owed it to myself not to rewrite the past just because she finally regretted it. She lowered her gaze. I understand, she murmured. I just had to try. The silence that followed wasn't cruel. It was honest. Two people sitting in the wreckage of a bridge that had burned too thoroughly to rebuild. I wish you the best, Jenna. I added, meaning it. I hope you find something real, something you don't have to trade for comfort. She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. She stood, smoothing her coat, and glanced around the office, my office, one last time. I always believed in you, she whispered, almost too quietly for me to hear. I just didn't believe you'd do it without me. That's the thing, I said, my voice steady. I had no choice. She gave me a sad smile and turned toward the door. As she left, I didn't watch her walk away. I didn't need to. I had already let her go. Later that evening, sitting alone in my office with the lights low and the city glowing to the windows, I thought about the man I used to be, the one who was scraping by, trying to prove he was worth something by having someone beside him. But I had survived the heartbreak, the loneliness, the betrayal, and I had become more, not richer in money, but in peace, in purpose, in knowing my worth didn't depend on who stayed or who left. That night, I deleted Jenna's number from my phone, not out of bitterness, just as a form of closure. She had come back hoping for forgiveness, maybe even a second chance. But what she really gave me was proof that I'd already healed. And that was the richest feeling of all.